Morning, members. Welcome to Oak House. Can I please remind you to ensure that mobile phones and other devices are on silent, that banners, etc. are not permitted, and members of the public are not allowed to address the meeting, to use the microphones which are available when addressing the meeting, that you may be filmed or recorded during this meeting. Thank you. Please now all stand for your chair.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Good morning, and welcome to Oak House. So we will start, as is our tradition, with prayers to be led by my chaplain, the Reverend Paul Massey. So, Paul, thank you.
We commence our meeting today by giving thanks to the life of former County Councillor Joe Lonergan, who sadly passed away. In a time of silence, remember the service given by him to this county. Gracious God, we know that you love to bless your children and that Jesus Christ has secured all of our blessings for us. So we ask you to bless each person present at this meeting with your grace and favour, that all our decisions be wise, our interactions be cordial, and your presence be felt in our midst. Holy God and mighty Lord, you bless us in so many ways with your gifts, and now especially with the gift of this new building of Oak House. May all who use it as councillors, officers and staff use their responsibilities and skills to enrich the life of all citizens of our county and so promote the common good. Heavenly Father, we come before you today to discuss important matters. We ask for your guidance and wisdom. Help us to listen attentively to one another with open hearts and minds. May we not be quick to judge or criticize, but instead seek to understand different perspectives. We pray that you will give us the discernment to make the best decisions for the greater good. We trust you will guide us on this path and lead us to reach a consensus which reflects your will. May our words and actions be always guided by your love and grace. For this we pray in your name. Amen.
Thank you, Paul, and please be seated. So, colleagues, welcome, and a warm welcome here to Oak House on this lovely sunny day, and it couldn't be better, really, could it? So, and I hope everyone has found the facilities, okay? And if you get lost or if you're not sure where you're going, there will be plenty of staff around who will be able to point you in the right direction. As this is my last full meeting as chairman, may I please once again ask members to respect each other and the role of chairman in what I know is an important meeting for this council. And to help me manage the meeting effectively, can you please fully raise your hand when indicating to speak and when voting, and keep it raised until we acknowledge you. So, without further ado, let's get on with the meeting, and because we've got quite a big agenda today. So, one thing, talking about addressing the meeting, or addressing the chairman, with this new layout, I can actually pretty much see everyone, which is good, and of course you've got the delight of seeing me, so remember you're actually addressing the chairman, which I'm only just getting used to that, just as I come to the end of my term, so there we are. So, into the first item on the agenda, item number 1, which is minutes of the previous meeting. Are we happy to approve those? Please show. Thank you. And I will sign the minute book. I can do that in do it later. So, item 2, apologies for absence. Do we have any apologies for absence? And if so, reasons for apologies should be provided. So, Councillor Barnfather, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I've got apologies from Councillor Nigel Turner for other reasons and for Councillor Robert Corden for medical illness.
Thank you. And Councillor Deakin.
Thank you, Chair. No apologies.
Thank you. And Councillor Henry.
Thank you.
Apologies from Councillor Michael Payne, the accountant as well.
Okay, thank you. Declarations of interest. If any councillor or officer has an interest in any matter on the agenda, you should declare it now. Please raise your hand now if you have an interest to declare, and when called to speak, you should state what type of interest it is, and please give brief details. So, does anyone have any interest to declare? No? Okay, thank you. So, Chairman's business. Now then, the Mill Adventures Award. Councillor Tracy Taylor, we have an award for the Mill Adventures Centre, and can I ask you to introduce the award, please?
Thank you, Chairman and members of this council. I'm delighted to stand before you today to celebrate a remarkable achievement. Adventures at the Mill has been honoured with the Places to Visit Award at the Discover Ashfield Awards ceremony. This is a testament to the exceptional experiences they offer to both local residents and visitors from further afield. The Discover Ashfield Awards is now in its 5th year and recognise the fantastic people, organisations and businesses within Ashfield and their achievements over the past 12 months. So what makes this award particularly special is that it's a local family who nominated Adventures, highlighting the deep connection and appreciation that our residents have for this outstanding venue. Adventures has become a place where families create lasting memories, individuals explore and enjoy the outdoors, and our community comes together. I'd like to extend my heartfelt congratulations to the entire team at Adventures for their dedication and passion. From the initial vision of enhancing opportunities for local people to experience new and exciting activities, to the launch of the Adventures provision last spring, their efforts have been truly commendable. This achievement is also a reflection of this County Council's unwavering commitment to youth services and its dedication to finding creative ways to provide new opportunities and experiences for young people. By offering these experiences alongside skilled and qualified practitioners, we are empowering young people to reach their full potential and to thrive. It's through this continued investment in youth services that we have so much to celebrate here in Nottinghamshire. Your efforts have not only enhanced the visitor experience, but have also played a vital role in making Ashfield a vibrant and welcoming destination. And this recognition also highlights the strength of our local partnerships and the power of community-driven initiatives. So I'd like to congratulate the Adventures team on this well-deserved honour. Unfortunately, they can't be with us today because of the arrangements we have for this very first meeting. I probably will ask Pom to make sure that everybody watches it back on YouTube. But they've made us all proud. They do that so much, all of the time. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Yes, this recognition is a testament to the hard work and dedication of the team behind Adventures, who have created a space where young people and residents can engage in exciting and meaningful experiences. Their efforts not only enrich the lives of our residents, but also help to establish Ashfield as an exciting and friendly destination. So congratulations on this outstanding achievement, and we are very proud to celebrate your success. So Councillor Taylor, would you like to come to the dais and present the award, please?
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. The acoustics aren't very good in here, and even with microphones, I find it very difficult to hear what Councillor Taylor is saying. So, could people perhaps talk a bit louder?
Thank you for that. I'm sorry, yes, it's all very new, so really we have a request for people to speak up and clearly and loudly. And I'm sure as time goes on, the people who operate the amplifiers and things will tweak things necessarily. So thank you for that. But just in case you hadn't heard what we were celebrating, we were receiving an award for the Mill Adventure Centre in Sutton in Ashfield. Councillor Wilmot.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm being disrupted in this meeting totally at the present time.
We don't want any of that, thank you very much. Well, we are blessed with a sunny morning. The sun will move around shortly. I'm sorry, I don't think there are any blinds up there. They're going to put the blinds down. Oh, they are. I'm sorry, they are putting blinds down. Sorry, I've been corrected. There are blinds, and they are going to be lowered. Okay, well, I'm sorry about that, but at least if we're speaking clearly, you'll be able to hear us. So back onto more serious business. We have received the sad news of the death of former County Councillor Joe Lonergan. Joe Lonergan served as the Newstead Division County Councillor for 4 terms. He was first elected in 1993. And he stood down in 2009. He was the lead spokesman for the Conservative Group for Adult Social Care for many years, and the family had a private funeral for Joe last week. And I understand that his family hadn't quite realised that we would remember Joe, and they weren't too sure that people would, but I know I remember Joe and colleagues do. And I understand that they may well be watching the meeting as either now or later on YouTube. So I'd now like to invite any members who might wish to say a few words about Joe. So Councillor Barnfather first, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Joe was my predecessor. He was my agent, but most importantly, Joe was my friend. Joe served this council, as you've already alluded to, from for 4 terms until 2009. But he not only served this council for 4 terms, he also served at Gedling Borough for 1 term in the 90s, and perhaps most importantly for the people of Ravenshead, he served on the parish council in Ravenshead for 30 years. He was the chairman of Ravenshead Parish Council for 30 years. He was the founding father of Ravenshead Parish Council. He established the parish council in the first instance at a time when part of the village was in Newark and Sherwood and part of it was in Gedling, and it was split between parishes. And we created, or he created with others, Ravenshead Parish Council. And he also had the foresight at that time to purchase a piece of land and create the Ravenshead Leisure Centre and sports facilities, which are outstanding facilities for any of you that have actually been up there and seen them. And now, of course, worth several £1 million as an investment on behalf of the community of Ravenshead. Joe was extremely popular within the village. I spoke to his daughter last week, and as you've already again alluded to, she thought that it would be a quiet family funeral because nobody would remember Joe. I have to say that could not be any further from the truth. The people of Ravenshead will always remember Joe for what he has effectively bequeathed them as his heritage. Joe was a member of many other clubs and societies. He served on the Sherwood Forest Hospitals Trust as a trustee. Joe used to attend party conference with me in the days when we went a little bit further than Manchester and Birmingham, and was always tremendous company. 90 years of age when he died. Now that's a good age, but what he achieved during those 90 years was quite incredible for the Ravenshead area. But what some people won't actually know is that prior to going into local politics, Joe worked in textiles. And he was the manager of a textile company in Cumbria in the first instance. And he was so successful in that role that his company actually sent him to Morocco, where he established a factory producing textiles in Morocco for import and export. That was before, obviously, he came to Ravenshead and we benefited from that move. Joe, we will always remember you. Every day, people who walk through Ravenshead and past the Ravenshead Leisure Centre will always remember you. Rest in peace.
Thank you, Councillor Barnfather. Councillor Adair, Reg.
Yes, Chairman. Oh, sorry. Red light on, red light off. There's no reason for that. Yes, now to follow on. And he was always a spirit of wisdom, and I remember him when he used to do his portfolio in adult social care, and he used to be very challenging at that time towards the administration of how it should be done and how it shouldn't be done. And also, I can also remember Chris holding you by the hand and taking you around and showing you the way in politics when you first got into it. So all in all, he's left a legacy, and we should all remember it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Adair. Councillor Fold.
Yeah, I never had the pleasure of meeting Joe, but clearly his public service was actually tremendous. So just to thank him for that. And in addition, I think anybody that takes on the role of lead spokesman for adult social care deserves our thanks and gratitude. So condolences from the Labour group.
Thank you very much. And Councillor Bradley.
Thank you, Chairman. I had the privilege of meeting Joe in about 2013 as a 21-year-old. Reggie mentioned leading Chris by the hand. Joe was one of the people who led me by the hand, I suppose, in my first foray into politics when I became the campaign manager for Sherwood in 2013, the 200 majority that we were protecting. And I ended up refereeing the pitched battle between the Ravenshead branch and the Ollerton branch at the time that was ongoing as Joe and another association member, Mary, were often at loggerheads, and I found myself as a 21-year-old new to the game in the middle of all that. But Joe was a fantastic character, and as Chris said, his service both to the Conservative Party in that area and to Ravenshead is probably unmatched, I think, in terms of the commitment and the legacy that he leaves for those communities, not least the Leisure Centre and the Parish Council, but actually his character and his relationships around the village. As Chris said, everybody knew Joe. And towards the end of that time working in Sherwood, as happens to all of us, Joe, I think, probably became increasingly kind of frail, and we know moved down to Devon to be with his family. But his presence was and is missed. And it's a shame, actually, that we are confined to kind of giving our thanks and remembering Joe in this forum up here in Nottinghamshire, because best wishes to Joe's family and want to remember and recognise the role that he played, because it is a fantastic legacy. As has already been said, those who knew him or those who used the leisure centre, used the spaces, worked with the parish council, who continue to deliver services and benefits for residents in that part of then will be very difficult to match in the future. So my thoughts to his family and friends as well. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Bradley. And Councillor Purdue-Horan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I pay my respects on behalf of the independent group, but also on behalf of myself. I knew Joe mainly through my membership of the Conservative Party at the time, and we met up with each other in various meetings, area meetings and party conferences. I absolutely agree with the comments made by colleagues earlier. And indeed, he introduced me to a very promising councillor at Bournemouth, I think it was, a certain Chris Barnfather, who was selected to take over from him. And I absolutely agree with everything that Chris has said. Joe Lonergan was a giant of Ravenshead community, and the respect that he was held amongst his colleagues across the parties at County Hall, not only the Conservative Party. He was a very sad loss to this council the day he came, but I have to say his large shoes were amply filled by Councillor Barnfather. But I really do want to get over that. I think many of us here in the hall would like his family to know how much he was respected and loved by not only councillors but staff at Nottinghamshire County Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Purdue-Horan. And Councillor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yep, Joe was definitely loved. He was a stalwart of Ravenshead. I was born in Ravenshead, and it wasn't until my early teens, you won't believe this, but some 35 years ago, where on a Friday evening I used to walk up to the Ravenshead Youth Club, the Barn, that's what it was known as, not just to meet my friends and young ladies, but to play table tennis with Joe Lonergan. He didn't just run it, he made it a really safe environment, somewhere your parents were happy because they knew Joe was there. It was great times, and Ravenshead was lovely, and it still is. And I didn't see him for a good few years, good decade or so. And then when I first stood for a councillor, I was always a Conservative, but when I joined the party for proper, Joe was my agent, and he was extremely knowledgeable, helped me through that whole process. And I just want to pass on to his family what a true gentleman he was, and how knowledgeable and how much he'll be missed. God bless him.
Thank you, Councillor Elliott, and thank you, everybody who's spoken. I remember Joe as well. I'm sorry, I've forgotten Bruce. Bruce, you'll never forgive me. I do apologise.
I'd just like to say a few words. Joe was he was here as a councillor when I first arrived on the doorstep. He'd already done 2 terms, and he was a topping man with the driest sense of humour you've ever come across. A bit like the chairman, actually. But it's sort of like he's constantly telling me to shut up. I can remember very clearly one of the things Joe did was he read his paperwork from front to back. You did not get away with anything when Joe was responsible for it. He knew more about adults than any of us put together. The adult social services was obviously, he was the opposition spokesman. And he used to hold the cabinet member to account all the time with an immense knowledge of the subject that he was given responsibility for. And there was nobody else to do the job effectively because he made it his own. But what Joe was a real father figure to the Conservative group then. we were short in number, and Joe was the glue that was holding the whole thing together. Everybody went to Joe to ask for his advice. And I used to come across him at the association, the annual meetings at the association, and there was always a friendly hug and handshake, and so I shall remember him with true fondness, really. And he will be missed by his family, as he is missed by us, and may he rest in peace. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Lawton, and I'm sorry I missed your name on the list. Yes, I also remember Joe, and primarily in his role as being the shadow spokesman for social care, and he knew his brief, and he took things extremely seriously. And as colleagues have said, he was a lovely chap and will be missed, and we do remember him. So thank you for those comments. So here we are at Oak House, and also today, of course, it's spring equinox. First day of spring, first day at Oak House. My goodness me, could be a first or something else, who knows. And but as we mentioned earlier on, I hope this is a chance to introduce a new era and remind us all to work well together and respect each other, and remember to be polite. Because at the end of the day, whoever we are, we're representing all the residents of Nottinghamshire, and we're making decisions that affect them. And that is what we're here for. That's important. And so I'll just mention that since our last meeting, it was only 3 weeks ago, wasn't it? I've carried out 11 formal civic events. I won't list them all, but I will just mention 2 or 3 particular highlights. It was fantastic to attend the opening of the refurbished Hucknall Library. What a lovely building that is, and in the square there, and it was daylight today. It was absolutely perfect. We also held the COVID memorial event at County Hall, and that was it was well a moment of reflection for people who we lost during COVID. I've attended the annual High Sheriff's Legal Service at St Mary's Church in Nottingham. That's an experience. You meet with all the judges, and they gather in all their finery, and you parade over to the St Mary's Church for the service. So that I was pleased to represent the County Council there. And then we've had Commonwealth events. I attended the Commonwealth flag raising at Ashfield District Council, and I must also say how honoured I was to welcome His Royal Highness the Duke of Gloucester to Nottinghamshire, where we unveiled a plaque at the War Memorial at the embankment. And then finally, I've planted the oak sapling this morning, and only yesterday, or was it the day before, certainly earlier this week, I was planting another tree as part of the Greenwood Forest tree planting near Southall. And that is well, it's a wonderful project. Thousands of trees have been planted to help the environment, and the volunteers there are doing a sterling job. So as we move on, we will break for... oh, yes, actually, I have just remembered something else. I'd even written it down. I'm not reading my own writing, so I'm sorry about that. I mentioned at the previous meeting that I'd attended the 10th anniversary of the Big House in Edwinstowe. And we were told, or I was told yesterday, that they've just had an Ofsted inspection, or they had an Ofsted inspection, and the results were announced a day or two ago, and they have scored outstanding in every single aspect of their work. So I remember thinking to myself when I was visiting the house earlier this year, what a great place it was. I didn't know they would be having an Ofsted, and I thought to myself, it's a good place, and it plainly is. So really, on behalf of the council, I'd pass on my congratulations and thanks to the staff who are doing a sterling job there. So we will break for lunch at approximately 12:30 today. Hot drinks are available for members in their group rooms, and a tuck shop will be available from 11 o'clock to purchase drinks and snacks. So I hope you remember to bring some cash with you. And also just to remind us all that the meeting has to finish, and will finish today by 5:30. as set out in the Constitution. So okay, thank you. So we'll move on to constituency issues, and this item gives members who have previously given notice by the deadline the opportunity to speak for up to 3 minutes on any particular matter relevant to their constituencies or any particular issues arising in their electoral division, which is relevant to services provided by the County Council. This is an opportunity simply to air these issues in the council meeting. It will not give rise to a debate on the issues or a question and answer session. Members are reminded that there is a maximum limit of 15 minutes for this item on the agenda, and each member may only speak for a maximum of 3 minutes. Any speeches not heard in the time limit will fall and can be submitted again at a future meeting. And we have 12 speeches today. We have 11. I beg your pardon. We have 11 speeches today. And the first name on the list is Councillor Paul Henshaw, and this is regarding 7 Trent Suds in Mansfield West.
Thanks, Chair. Hope the clock's running. Your Council will be aware that I've often brought up the issue of flooding in our division of Mansfield West, and particularly in the village of Plesley. And to try and counter the effects of water runoff, which contributes to flooding, Severn Trent are investing 76 million in Mansfield on a range of nature-based solutions to protect communities from flooding. In built-up areas, surface water collects quickly and can overflow drains. To put it plainly, the places we live in aren't just as spongy as we'd like. So we're turning to nature to help, and in a UK first transformation, we're making a number of alterations. When complete, this scheme will be able to store over 58 million litres of surface water. And that's about 23 Olympic-sized swimming pools. In real terms, this means reduced flood risk for about 90,000 people. It will be a blueprint for how we manage flooding in the future, and at the same time, it will make Mansfield even fresher and a greener place to live for the residents. Sustainable drainage systems, or SUDs, over the next few years with Severn Trent will make sure that there are going to be about 20,000 of these schemes in and around Mansfield West and Mansfield in general. And they work by diverting surface water away from the sewers, slowing it down and helping the drains to cope. So at the same time as reducing flood risk, they cut pollution and bring more plant and animal species into the places we live. And as with many new ideas, there is a certain amount of disruption. So I'd like to thank the residents of Mansfield West, and in particular, Ladybrook, Bull Farm, Ranmouthwaite, Plesley and Grange Farm for their patience. While the work is being completed, there have been a number of issues, but working with Severn Trent, we've overcome most of them. And I'd just like to say that if any resident has any future problems while the SUDs are being installed, they can either get in touch with Councillor Anderson or me, and we will contact the people at Severn Trent on your behalf. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Henshaw. And our next speaker is Councillor Roger Jackson, and this is regarding the speed enforcement cameras in his division. So, Councillor Jackson, please. Sorry.
Although now we are on the trial period, thanks to Councillor Clark and his persistence with officers, so we can use these. I have one particular road in Southall called Hallorton Road, which is an absolute rat run, which is dangerous. There's no right turn signs on the road, on the pavement, but nobody takes any notice. It's a quite a narrow road, no pavements, and very dangerous. One enforcement camera up there would stop that use completely. So I'm hoping what I'm saying, Chairman, is I'm sure all members have got other situations in their wards or regions where an enforcement camera would work very well. And I hope when the trial period is over that we can have more enforcement cameras put up throughout the county for safety reasons of our pedestrians in our towns and villages. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Sorry about the microphone. It's cutting in and out, but we heard you. And I'm sure all colleagues would sympathise and empathise with your comments about these enforcement cameras. I'm sure we've all got roads that would like those. So our next speaker is Councillor Tom Hollis. And Councillor, this is about the frontline services in Sutton West.
Thank you. Every time I stand in this chamber, I do so as a champion, to champion our local children's centres, our schools and the centres that families in Carsick, Huthwaite and Sutton rely on. But today, that mission has become more personal than ever, because I'm absolutely delighted to share some wonderful news with my friends and colleagues here that my beautiful wife, Hannah, and I are expecting our first child in August. And Hannah's sat above me here in the public gallery, so I'm very, very proud of that. But I've always wanted a family of my own, and as much as I've appreciated the importance of family life for the people I represent, this news has given me an even deeper understanding of how vital good local services are, the quality of our schools, the provision in our children's centres, and the support available to parents matters more than anything. That's why I've always fought to improve our parks, to invest in leisure centres, and to make sure that every child in Sutton has the opportunity they deserve. Because every child, mine now included, deserves to grow up in a community that supports them. And so I say this to local residents. I will continue to stand up for families. I will fight for better school facilities, safer streets, stronger local services, and the very best for every child in our community, not just for my own family, but for theirs too. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Hollis, and congratulations to you and Hannah. So, a busy time ahead for you. And our next speaker is Councillor Dr. John Doddy, and this is regarding the emerging Stephen Gerrard Academy being built in
Off again. Those of us who live in Stapleford and those of us who are particularly close to Hickings Lane, such as myself and Councillor McGrath, for so long have known it to be more a centre of antisocial behaviour, stabbing and open drug taking on the recreation ground. But over the hill, a transformational development is occurring which will change the lives of those around it for the exceptional opportunity that's coming. Myself and Councillor McGrath drove past today and there's an enormous mound that would make you think somebody had given a licence for open cast mining. But what they're actually doing is building 2 3G pitches, multi-surface pitches to include disability access to it, to include walking football, which has become so popular, and to promote the women's game in football. Those 2 pitches are in the middle of getting developed, and alongside them, this most fantastic venue, which will have a pavilion, a youth centre for the young population to get together, multi-surface rooms, all under the guise of Stapleford Football Club. You'd think that wasn't enough, but that was so attractive that Stephen Gerrard took his only centre outside the Northwest and decided to put it on Hickings Lane in Stapleford, the combined education and football experience. Currently got 30 young people there, 10 who play for Stapleford
town football club, giving you an education and also allowing you to indulge your passion of football. Up to BTEC level 3, coaching skills, and in particular media skills, allowing people videography, podcasts, interview techniques, etc. So this will allow people who don't go on to have a football career to still remain within football. It is, number one, going to be an anchor venue for people to bring people in. Number two, it's going to give the young people of Stapleford a great opportunity to develop their education and sport. Number three, it's going to reduce antisocial behaviour and I would like to congratulate Councillor McGrath, who had a major role in actually helping this development there, and the Towns Fund, which put £7 million into that transformational thing. So I'd just like to say it opens in August, and I'm hoping as many of you as possible are back here next time, so that we can all go and visit it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Doddy. Good score there for Stapleford High. And our next speaker is Councillor Andre Camilleri, and this is regarding progress made in South.
Thank you, Chair.
Sorry, over to you. Sorry, Councillor Camilleri.
For the election, I want to reflect on what this council and the Conservatives have delivered for Mansfield South in the last 4 years. First of all, the Ravensdale School, soon to be known as the Horizon Academy, a £30 million state-of-the-art facility for 160 pupils with autism, social, emotional and mental health needs. It's the largest capital investment in Mansfield's history, something I am proud to have played a key role in delivering. Our commitment to education doesn't stop there. £2.3 million for Berry Hill Primary School, £2.5 million for High Oakham Primary to improve the roofs, insulation and lighting and fire station. Roads have also been our priority. We've secured more funding in 4 years than the independents did in the 8 years they were in. We've major research has been delivered on the avenue, will be delivered on the avenue, North Park, Stanley Road, Berry Hill Lane, Nottingham Road, A60 around the college, High Oakham Junction, Laurel Avenue, Beach Avenue, Cordwell Road, Hollow Avenue, Southwell Road, Western Clifton Grove, and many, many more. The investment has been significant. After 4 years of perseverance, the long overdue Rock Hill repairs are finally underway. That's took a lot of doing. With barriers now removed, they cost £192,000. Alongside ex-leader Ben Bradley, we have secured £2 million funding to upgrade the notorious Sainsbury Junction on the A60, a vital improvement for Mansfield roadwork. Progress has also meant stopping poor developments. With ex-MDC Councillor Robert Elliman and local residents, we successfully blocked the large housing scheme on Gregory's Quarry, protecting our community and environment. Beyond the big projects, I was honoured to dedicate a garden to the late Councillor Tom Appleby, a respected local councillor. I have also worked with Councillor Mox and Councillor Corrin on the new developments at Abbey School and the Patchills, which will ensure positive outcomes for our residents. In the past year alone, I have attended over 90 meetings on County Council business, plus my district council, always making sure Mansfield South was heard. I worked hard to report potholes, clear gullies and drains, support residents and ensure responsible financial management.
30 seconds.
May the 1st, national politics will play a role and some of it may not return. If I am one of the unlucky ones, I want to thank the people of Mansfield South for their trust in me. It has been an honour to serve and I've made friends across the political divide also. Whatever happens, I am proud of what I've achieved because at the end of the day, my goal and the Conservatives has always been very simple, to get the job done. And we've done it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Camilleri. Bang on 3 minutes. Well done. Next speaker is Councillor Sue Saddington, and this is regarding Kelham Bridge.
I became a county councillor in 2005. How time flies.
Today, as this administration draws to a close, I have to mention Kelham Bridge. Over the 20 years I have been in this council, I think you would all agree that I've never missed an opportunity to mention that we require a wider, more purposeful bridge in Kelham. Several years ago, a car went through the bridge and both the passenger and the car had to be pulled out of the river. Had the river been in flood, as it has been recently, it could have been a different outcome. It is only through drivers giving way on and over the bridge which has prevented more accidents. 40-ton lorries go across the bridge every day. How many, I cannot count. Residents' properties rattle in Kelham as these heavy giants go past historic buildings, including the famous Kelham Hall. Kelham is a conservation village, and I am certain we should be treating this village with more respect. However, we require funding to start the new bypass and to see what we can do to create one. But you never know, perhaps in a few more years, and with some fundraising, we may have a new bypass, allowing the lovely Victorian bridge to have a rest. I will be presenting a petition for a few minutes from the residents of Kelham. They would like a crossing. As to cross the A617, you take your life into your own hands. There are a few pavements which are narrow, so a large lorry coming round the corner is enough to blow a resident onto the road. I hope I will return in May, when I will continue to press for a bypass and a safe crossing for the residents of Kelham. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Saddington. And yes, we are very familiar with Kelham Bridge. And that's our last, I think we're out of time now, so we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the, if I find the right page, is presentation of petitions. And I was notified of 10 petitions by the deadline. May I remind members there is a 1-minute time limit for the presentation of each petition, and there is a maximum time limit of 15 minutes for this item. So the first petition is Councillor Sue Saddington, and this is requesting a pedestrian crossing on the A617 at Kelham.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I do have a petition from the residents of Kelham asking for a safe crossing for the Kelham residents and visitors who wish to cross the A617. It's extremely difficult to cross, including the children who have to get to the bus stop to get to school. And in this tiny little village, I have 191 signatures. Thank you, Chairman.
And the next petition is Councillor Mike Adams. He actually has 4 petitions, but I believe you're going to present them all together, aren't you? So this is a request for a pedestrian crossing on Chandler Street, Netherfield, a request for a pedestrian crossing on Charworth Road, Colwick, a request for a pedestrian crossing on Vale Road, Colwick, and a request for a pedestrian crossing on Mile End, Colwick. So Councillor Mike Adams.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Yes, some very important local issues to cover as well. So we'll start off with the Netherfield primary one. I was out there recently with Nottinghamshire Police, who do a fantastic job of coming accompany me outside the schools to watch the problems with parking. While I was there, a resident approached me and said that a couple of months before, her son had been hit and knocked over by a car passing this very school. It's a big problem on this road. There's a lot of traffic. Some drivers do not take account for the fact that there are children there. Some people that park their cars don't take into account there are children there and drive too fast on that area. This petition was signed by over 500 people within the Netherfield area who want this petition to create a crossing outside the school, a safe pedestrian crossing outside the school. So that is the first one. The second one is a slightly different situation, but we have again in the Netherfield / Colic area, there is a place called Carlton Railway Station. Carlton Railway Station carries commuters up and down the country from the Netherfield and Colic area. This train station, as you walk out by exit, normally you'd have an underpass that go under a main road. This doesn't exist. So what I want to do on Chorworth Road is put a crossing in there to enable safe passage from that railway station to the other side of the pavement. And then as you get into the next section of Colic where Vale Road is, there's also no crossing on the entire length of Vale Road. Vale Road is a very long road again. It's got a school located on there, and a lot of pedestrians use that road, as well as there are many houses on there. And subsequently, finally, Mile End Road, which connects the three, if you like, creating a safe corridor for both cyclists and pedestrians all the way from Carlton Station all the way to Colic Country Park. So again, this is all about safety, Chairman. Let's improve the footways and keep residents safer getting to and from where they need to across the county. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor John Cotty has a petition requesting works to a footpath in Stanton-on-the-Wolds.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm presenting a petition from Stanton-on-the-Wolds Parish Council, who only has a small population, but 203 people have signed this petition, and it's to improve the accessibility of the connection between the right-of-way 14 to the existing path on Melton Road in Stanton-on-the-Wolds. And I would add that this is a popular area that people walking in it, and we have been fighting for it for a long time to get this sorted out. And I would kindly ask the gentleman to my right, our favourite councillor, to present that on my behalf due to a foot problem.
Thank you, Councillor Cotty. Thank you, Councillor Grandfather. For anyone who may not have noticed, Councillor Cotty has a big boot on his foot at the moment, so he's a little bit of a struggle to walk up here. So thank you. And Councillor Jim Creamer, please, has a petition regarding the implementation of yellow lines at the bottom of Dover Ridge Road and Burton Road in his division.
Thank you, Chairman. Fully support this. Over the years, that particular piece of road from Doveridge Road going on to Burton Road has always been a difficult exit to, and if anybody is actually parking, no matter what size the vehicle, it is quite a dangerous turn, and particularly with large vehicles. While actually collecting the petition at 7 o'clock at night, I got very close to a collision myself. So I do know the area. It's got over 130 signatures, which is the majority of Dove Road and Dove Avenue, which is off it. We have to use that exit. So I would ask for urgency on this one, that those double yellow lines are extended. It's a simple move, and it would increase road safety in that area fantastically. Thank you.
And our next petition is Councillor John Clark, and this is requesting the resurfacing of Gunthorpe Road between Stanhope Road and Bayliss Road in Gedling. So Councillor John Clark.
Yeah. Blinded by that light up there, which hopefully we can do something about in the future, because I know you put the blinds down, but it still was quite strong and affects your eyesight or my eyesight. But this is from the people on Gunthorpe Road, Stanhope Road and Bayliss Road, requesting resurfacing like hundreds of roads in this county, which are in an absolute disgraceful, disgusting state. And I do hope that you use the money wisely that's been given by the Labour government recently to the council to put some of that right. It's nice to be in a nice building like this, but there are things out there that we could have spent the money on. So if it sounds frustrating, it is frustrating. But this is from the people genuinely wanting their road to be
And yes, I'm sorry about the light shining in on colleagues. That has been noted by people who need to know these things. Right, Councillor Matt Barney. This is a petition regarding speed reduction on Trowell Lane and Hungary Lane in Sutton Bonington.
Thank you, Chairman. 4 years ago, just after I was elected, we were tragically hit with 2 separate deaths, road fatalities, in the village of Sutton Bonington on one road, Park Lane. As a result of that, the community came together and a number of community champions, a lady by the name of Sue Robinson, who runs an incredible business, Horse and Carriage Co., Rebecca Morris, who works for Road Peace and runs a group called Vision Zero, working with road safety, Nigel Hillier, part of our Community Speedwatch team, and Duncan Collins, flood warden and also part of the Community Speedwatch team, came together to form a group to look at road safety. Today, we are presenting a petition collectively signed by 400 residents of our local community, trying to address the speed reduction, much needed speed reduction on Trowell Lane and Hungary Lane, Sutton Bonington. And it's still on the clipboard as signed from the village shops in Sutton Bonington, and I'm thrilled to present today on behalf of our community and on behalf of all champions across all our communities who care passionately about road safety.
On green. All right. And our final petition today is from Councillor Steve Carr, and this is regarding resurfacing of Deddington Lane, Bramcote. So, Councillor Carr, please.
Presenting a petition on behalf of the residents of Deddington Lane in Bramcote. I'm very grateful for the work that has been done in this estate on every single road but Deddington Lane, which was the worst. And the people down there weren't very happy about it, and they organised a petition and have asked me to present it. Thank you.
Thank you, colleagues. So I will ask the Council to resolve that the petitions be referred to the appropriate Cabinet members for consideration, and a report will be brought back to the Council in due course in accordance with standing orders. And that takes us on to responses to petitions presented to the Chairman of the County Council in the past, and I move that the content, which are in the report, and I move that the contents of the report and the actions approved to be noted. So do we have any speakers, or are we happy just to note that? Happy to note. Yep. Okay, thank you. We move on to item 7, which is the Nottinghamshire County Council's Pay Policy Statement 2024-25. I'd like to call Councillor Sam Smith, who will move the recommendations in the report. Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Chairman. The most exciting part of today is that the government requires, under the Localism Act, all authorities in England and Wales to publish a pay policy statement each financial year before the 1st of April. Very specific criteria, Mr. Chairman, is needed to ensure consistency of information is provided and how this is presented to all local authorities across the country. The core requirement of that, Mr. Chairman, is around the ratio and relationship between the lowest paid and the chief officer pay, as well as providing information about all posts with salaries over £50,000. Key information to highlight at Nottinghamshire County Council is the ratio and relationship between pay of the highest and lowest paid at the council are improving year on year, Mr. Chairman. The relationship between the chief executive's pay and that of the council's midpoint earner, which is about £28,000, is a ratio of 7 to 1, Mr. Chairman. That ratio has seen a reduction over the last 3 years, falling from 8 to 1 in 2020 to 7 to 1 this year. When expressed as a multiplier of pay, the Chief Exec's salary is 8 to 1 times greater than that of the Council's lowest earner when the living wage allowance is included. And the ratio has seen a reduction over the last 3 years, which is a good thing, falling from 10 to 1 in 2022 to 8 to 1 this year, Mr. Chairman. Really important to note that the threshold of salaries of £50,000 for reporting remains the same every year, Mr. Chairman, and has done so since the reporting requirement was introduced in 2015. So that means in the pack today you'll see more jobs listed, but it's important to note that it's because the thresholds haven't changed, Mr. Chairman. And on that, I move the report as in the agenda pack. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Smith, and I'd like to call Councillor Bruce Lawton, who will second the motion.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I formally second the motion.
Thank you. And do we have any speakers on this item? No. Okay, thank you. So, Councillor Lawton, you reserve your right to speak. Do you wish to add?
No, I didn't. I just...
Sorry, I misheard you. Blame the microphone. So, and Councillor Smith, do you wish to add anything? So, no. We'll put the motion to the vote. A show of hands, nice and clearly, those in favour. Okay, and anyone against? For the record, no, and no abstentions. That motion is carried. Thank you. Move on to item 8, which is the additional highways funding from the East Midlands Combined County Authority, EMCCA. And I'd like to call Councillor Neil Clark, MBE, who will move the recommendations in the report.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Chairman, and good morning to everybody here in this fine new building. This item reflects very welcome good news for Nottinghamshire, Mr. Chairman, with proposals summarised in paragraphs 8, 10 and 12 of the report. As colleagues will be aware, the Department for Transport now distribute almost all highways funding allocations to the East Midlands Combined County Authority, which I'll refer to as EMCCA from now on. At their board meeting held on 10th of March 2025, EMCCA formally confirmed the levels of funding that this council will be receiving in this forthcoming financial year. An element of funding approved as part of the 25-26 annual budget report was based on estimates of funding received in previous years. I can now confirm that the funding confirmed to deliver the 25-26 road maintenance and renewals programme is as follows. Nottinghamshire's highways block allocation £29.5 million and the additional city region sustainable transport settlement, people might know it better as CRSTS, £15.2 million. This funding is in addition, I repeat, in addition, Mr. Chairman, to the £6.8 million council funding that was approved at full council in February 2025 and will allow for significant investment in the county's highways network and is helpful in beginning to address the backlog of repairs required. I'm particularly pleased that our bid for additional highway maintenance funding was successful, with EMCCA not just passporting the £29.5 million of funding they received from the DFT, but also responding positively to our bid and providing £15.2 million of extra funding for the coming financial year. We are going to spend this money wisely and invest in a mixture of restorative, permanent highway repairs such as resurfacing, as well as preventative maintenance such as surface dressing to prolong the life of our roads. This investment will also be directed towards other key highway assets such as drainage infrastructure. The new funding will massively increase our overall planned spend of highways maintenance capital and revenue from just over £50 million to £72.7 million for our next financial year. let's just let that sink in, Mr. Chairman. An extra, a £72.7 million investment. In addition, before I just mention that, the additional funding for our drainage infrastructure will complement our already increased funding to help prevent the risks of flooding of our roads. I know that is very much something that our residents do worry about, the flooding of roads, and if we can do all we can, we've already invested an extra £467,000 in additional drain cleaning, and so that will help reduce the risk of flooding in our communities. In addition, an allocation of £7.5 million has been confirmed to support the A614697 Corridor Improvement Scheme, which will support housing development and address congestion issues in surrounding areas. Easing congestion at these junctions is vitally important to help both locals and those who pass through our county, making their journeys better. It will also considerably help the environment by reducing exhaust emissions from queuing traffic. As shown in paragraphs 11 and 12, EMCCA have confirmed a further £5.5 million capital to invest, and that will help invest in our impressive bus improvement plan. We have invested in both enhancing and subsidising scheduled bus services where operators may consider them not viable, and also 7 zones in our brilliant Not Bus on Demand service, contributing to our commitment that every community will have access to a bus service. The feedback for this has been very positive. Our bus services in Nottinghamshire must be the envy of most counties around the county. Some counties have chosen not to invest in bus services at all. So within this programme, Mr. Chairman, we're now talking about around 250 improvement schemes which will benefit our neighbourhoods, roads and all our communities. So this is really welcome news, really good news for Nottinghamshire to be able to propose this amendment and indeed addition to our capital programme. And I repeat finally, Mr. Chairman, £72.7 million being invested in our roads. And with that, I move the recommendations. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. I'd like to call Councillor John Cotty, who will second the motion.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm happy to second the motion that's been put forward by Councillor Clark, and I would like to reserve my right to speak, please.
And thank you, Councillor Cotty. And Councillor Zadrozny.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The independent group would like to propose an amendment, which I think officers will circulate.
We're just going to pause now for the amendment to be handed around. Right, thank you, colleagues. Hopefully everyone's got a copy of the amendment. Councillor Zadrozny, do you wish to you need to move the amendment, please?
I'll just read the recommendation, Chair, and then when it's seconded, I'll speak to the motion if that's how you'd like to proceed. Or okay. Okay, I'll do it all in one go. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have before us a report detailing an additional 70 million in highways funding for Nottinghamshire, a substantial sum, a once-in-a-blue-moon investment, a golden opportunity to fix our battered roads and crumbling pavements. And yet, as it stands, this funding risks vanishing into the great Nottinghamshire tarmac abyss, where decisions are made in committee rooms far removed from the people who actually have to dodge the potholes every day. But let's be clear, this money did not materialise out of thin air. We, the independents, have been fighting for years for this investment. We have tirelessly campaigned, lobbied and pushed for Nottinghamshire's crumbling roads to finally get the attention they deserve. It's through our hard work and persistent pressure that this funding has now been secured. And we are glad to see that at last our demands have been heard. That's why the independents propose an amendment that puts power where it belongs, in the hand of local councillors and their communities. This proposal is simple. We call on the Cabinet Member for Transport and Environment to allocate 16.5 million to a members-led highways scheme, giving each council £250,000 to invest directly in their local priorities. Why? Because we know our communities. We live there, we drive there, we push prams, we push wheelchairs and bikes over the same uneven footpaths. And unlike centralised decision-making, which often follows the path of least resistance or political convenience, our amendment ensures a fair, balanced and community-driven approach to fixing our roads. This isn't just about spreading the money evenly, it's about democracy in action. Participatory budgeting is a tried and tested method that allows residents to have direct say in how public money is spent. Imagine giving our communities the ability to vote on whether they want their local pothole-ridden high street to be resurfaced or whether the footpaths near the school should be prioritised for safety. Participatory budgeting is giving power to the people. This amendment isn't just about tarmac, it's about trust. Trusting local councillors to listen to their residents, trusting the people of Nottinghamshire to know what matters in their neighbourhoods. It's a radical idea, democracy actually working. And let's not forget, the independents have led the charge on this issue. We have been the ones calling for greater investment in Nottinghamshire's road when others ignored the problem. We've been the ones standing up for our communities, demanding that their voices are heard, and now we have secured the funding, we must ensure it's spent fairly. We've all heard the jokes about British roads. Our potholes aren't just holes, they're archaeological digs. Nottinghamshire's roads now come with free off-roading experience. We're supposed to drive on the left-hand side of the road, not what's left of the road. The reality is less funny. People are fed up with burst tyres, suspension repairs, an endless cycle of temporary fixes that will last about as long as Oak House will be as our chamber. Right now, the current plan commits 38.85 million to carriageway works, 3.97 million to footways, and 2.03 million to drainage. A lot of money. But with over 220 planned schemes, it's clear that many areas will still be left waiting, watching, and wondering when their turn will come. Our amendment ensures that every division gets its fair share, every town, every village, and that local councillors are empowered to make real change because, let's be honest, who do residents call when they're sick of potholes? Their local councillor. Who deals with the frustrations of communities being ignored? We do. Who better then to make sure this money is spent fairly? Local priorities chosen by local people. I repeat again, let's be crystal clear. If it wasn't for the independents who fought for funding in the first place, we would have been on the front lines demanding roads that are better for Nottinghamshire. And now we have secured this investment, we must ensure it's distributed fairly and effectively. Let's be real, the way funding is currently allocated isn't just about need, it's about political decisions. Certain areas mysteriously seem to get more than others, while others are left in disrepair, and we say enough. Let's stop the postcode lottery and make sure every part of Nottinghamshire gets the investment it deserves. Mr. Chairman, this is not a partisan issue, it's a common sense one. It's about fairness, democracy and community empowerment. If we don't pass this amendment, Mr. Chairman, what message are we sending to our residents? That decisions about roads should be made without them? That they should continue to pay for damage to their cars while waiting for a distant committee member to remember that they exist? This amendment is a vote for change. Already residents know that only the independents are trusted to deliver change. The people of Nottinghamshire deserve roads and pavements that are safe, reliable, well maintained, but more than that, they deserve a council that listens. So I urge members to vote for this amendment. Let's do something revolutionary today. Let's trust our communities and give power back to where it belongs. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Zabrosny.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. Point of order. If the Leader of the Council must shout out during people's speeches, can I kindly ask him not to do it while he's got his mouth full? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Carr. Councillor Smith, I'm sure you have taken note of the advice there. Councillor Hollis, I believe you wish to second this amendment.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'll be seconding this amendment and reserving my right to speak. But if also I could just declare an interest, which I think is probably appropriate. I represent this council on the East Midlands Combined Authority, but I'm also the Vice Chairman of the Governance, Audit and Ethics Committee at the East Midlands Combined Authority as well. Thank you.
You're reserving your right to speak. Just to confirm, you're reserving your right to speak, are you? Yep.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So, Councillor Clark, we have an amendment. Would you perhaps wish to...
Thank you, Chairman. Could I propose that we have a short adjournment, please?
And do we have a seconder for that, please? Councillor Smith, thank you. So we will call an adjournment for... It's 12 minutes to 12. Shall we call a 12-minute adjournment and reassemble at 12 o'clock? Thank you. Past 12, I did say we'll make a start again at 12. Remember, we've got a busy day. So I think we're all back up. Yes, we're all back, aren't we? So thank you for the adjournment. So Councillor Clark, do you accept the amendment?
No, we don't, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you very much. So we now go into discussion on the open debate on the amendment. So do we have any speakers, please? So, oh my word. I saw Councillor yeah, we're speaking to the amendment, yes. So any speakers on the amendment? So Councillor Oliver first, and then we're making a list. Keep your hands up so we can make a list. Okay, thank you, colleagues. We're just making a list of the hands that have gone up, so I hope you understand. First name on the list is Councillor Oliver, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm proud to speak to this amendment because it is a fair, it's democratic, and it's very long overdue. We all know that the state of Nottinghamshire roads, I can't drive for 5 minutes without encountering potholes big enough to lose one of my small dogs in. Our pavements are trip hazards, our drainage is a joke, and road repairs are too often dictated by political convenience rather than the community needs. That's why I fully support this independence amendment, which ensures that every community gets its fair share. The proposal to allocate 16.5 million to a member-led highway scheme is a game changer. It gives local councillors, the people who are actually listening to the residents, the ability to direct funding where it is most needed, not based on a bureaucratic list or party priorities, but based on real local concerns. Now, let's be clear. This investment didn't just appear out of thin air. It is a direct result of the tireless campaigning of independent councillors across Nottinghamshire. We have fought tooth and nail for years to get this council to take road repairs seriously. We can all laugh, but joking aside, the state of Nottinghamshire roads with this Conservative-led council is absolutely atrocious. This is a direct result of our campaigning from independence, and we have fought tooth and nail for years to get this council to take it seriously. We've knocked on doors, we've lobbied decision makers, and refused to be ignored as independents. Finally, our persistence has paid off. The 70 million in funding is a victory, but now we must fight again to make sure it's spent fairly. It's a common sense approach for local priorities. Our amendment is all about common sense. If you're a councillor in Worksop, you know which streets have been crumbling for years. If you represent a division in Mansfield, you know what footpaths are hazardous for the elderly. And if you're from Eastwood, well, I know that residents already pay enough in tyre repairs, that's for sure. Who better than local councillors to decide where funding is needed most? It shouldn't be left to a remote decision-making process that leaves residents out of the conversation. This amendment embraces participatory budgeting, a system used successfully elsewhere, may I add, and which allows local people a say in how public money is spent. This means that residents, not just politicians, will decide what their community needs the most. That is real democracy in action. The state of our roads is a disgrace. We all have horror stories from our wards, residents having to swerve across roads just to avoid potholes, pavements so bad that people in wheelchairs or with prams have to take dangerous detours, roads that have been ignored for years while funding mysteriously ends up elsewhere. Cough, cough, Oak House. And what have we heard for years? Excuses, delays, promises that never ever materialise. Well, not anymore. This amendment makes sure that councillors have real money, real power and real accountability for fixing these issues. It means that we don't have to beg, plead and chase highway officers for action. We will have direct control over what gets fixed in our communities. It's time to end the postcode lottery. It is unacceptable that some areas receive constant investment while others are left to deteriorate. It's unacceptable that residents in some divisions pay the same council tax but receive far worse services. This amendment ends that injustice and it stops the postcode lottery and ensures fairness for every town, every village, every street in Nottinghamshire. And let's be honest, people trust the independents to fight for them. We have been the ones demanding better roads while others have ignored the problems. And now that we have won this funding, we must make sure it isn't wasted in backroom deals and centralised schemes that leave local communities out of the loop. This is a vote for fairness, democracy and trusting communities to decide their own priorities. I urge every member of this council to do the right thing. Support this amendment, support your communities and give the local people back the roads they deserve. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Steve Carr.
Put my thing on. The state of Nottingshire's roads is not just a transport issue, it's a political choice by both major parties. This hasn't just been going on the last 8 years, it's been going on longer than that. The condition of our highways, pavements and drainage is a direct result of years of misplaced priorities. And now, millions in extra funding has appeared a few days before the pre-election period starts. I fully welcome this investment, but I have concerns where it is going to. The report before us tells us that there are 224 planned road and pavement schemes, yet doesn't tell us where they are. The ruling administration wants us to accept that Beeston, Bramcote and every other community will get their fair share. Let's talk about Bramcote and Beeston North, my division, where road maintenance has been a low priority for years, and I have had to lobby very hard over the last 8 years to get what we've received. I've already presented to you, Mr. Chairman, a petition from the people on Deddington Lane. Appalling potholes on Deddington Lane. Town Street and Chilwell in Bramcote, used by thousands daily, but riddled with potholes and uneven surfaces. And a wall that has fallen down twice in 18 months. River Green Crescent and Deanwood Avenue. Pavements so bad that many of the ageing population, who are the majority, won't walk on them, as there have been several accidents, one of which, Mr. Chairman, was a lady who banged her head so hard that she is now registered blind as a result. Peville Road, which is constantly filled and refilled at £85 the cost per pothole. These are not minor issues, these are basic safety concerns, and they have to be allowed to drag on for years. And now, with the election just 40 days away, we have a chance to show residents whose side we're on. Because let me tell you this, people matter. They matter more than party loyalty, more than the politics of this chamber, and more than a rushed funding announcement designed, the timing of which is questionable. That's why this amendment is essential. It puts £16.5 million directly into the hands of councillors who know their areas. With £25,000 per councillor, we can fix what needs fixing, rather than hoping for announcements from County Hall. If we don't secure this amendment today, I can tell you exactly what will happen. It will vanish into the usual black hole, and places like Bramcote and Beeston North will be left behind again. So let's not kid ourselves. This vote isn't just about roads, it's about who we serve and who we stand with. If you vote for this amendment, you're voting for fairness, accountability and real investment in local people. If you vote against it, you're telling residents that their communities don't matter as much as a party whip's instruction. And in 40 days' time, at an election, the people will remember who stood up for them today. I urge every councillor to support this amendment. I will be standing up for Bramcote, for Beeston North, and for every single resident who deserve better. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Meakin.
Thank you, Chair. This is simple. Our roads are broken and the amendment ensures they get fixed. Now, I know we've all heard it before. Don't worry, it's on the list. Well, Kirkby North must be the world's longest list because we've been waiting years for proper investment in our roads. If the council was any slow at fixing them, we started giving them potholes heritage status. We all know the spots: Greenwood Drive, Lowmore Road and Chartwell Road, practically a roller coaster at this point. If you don't slow down, you'll be airborne. Abbey Road, Victoria Road, a classic case of patchwork repairs just to make things worse. Kirkby Town Centre for footpaths, uneven, cracked, and a nightmare for anyone with mobility issues. And of course, drainage. It rains for half an hour and suddenly we've got a lake in our towns. And now, thanks to the independents fighting for it, we're going to hear laughing again, possibly. We've got £70 million in RA funding. That's a big win. Now we have to make sure it's actually spent where it's needed. That's why I fully support this amendment. Instead of leaving all the decisions to a distant cabinet member who thinks Kirkby is just another name on a spreadsheet, this plan gives every councillor £250,000 to spend directly on the area, and that means real community involvement. Imagine this: residents getting active say in what gets fixed first. Instead of just complaining about potholes on Facebook, we can actually do anything about them. It's called participatory budgeting, and it works. It's about trusting local people to know what their priorities are rather than waiting for a magic email from County Hall. And let's be clear, this money doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It wasn't the big parties who fought for it. It was us, independents, demanding investments where it's actually needed. Now we just need to make sure it's spent fairly, not swallowed up by the same old postcode lottery. So let's not waste the opportunity. Let's fix our roads, give our communities a voice, and finally start getting things done. I urge everyone to support this amendment, because if we don't stand up for the communities, who will? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me to speak. I'm standing here in support of the amendment, and because Hucknall West has been ignored far too long. The state of the roads is beyond a joke. It's an insult to the people who live there and work in the area. We've been told time and time again our roads will be fixed, and there's a plan that's coming, but we've never seen it. Watnell Road, an absolute disgrace, driving over rubble. Common Lane, highway surfacing, ridiculous. The footways I mentioned in the other council chamber on my first speech needed resurfacing on the footways on Common Lane. It's a hazard to those who are disabled. They cannot access that footway. It is horrendous. It's been left to rot, and the sinkholes are like mini potholes. Nabs Lane, Common Lane, Christchurch Road. You drive down Christchurch Road and the road is splitting in the middle. You go down Penhale. You go off Ascot. You can't drive down there without damaging your vehicle. Beacon Hill. Numerous cars have been damaged on Beacon Hill. Hucknall streets and side streets are an absolute disgrace. Members may remember the members' priority scheme. And this is very much like the priority scheme which was taken away from our members here in this chamber, where we had 3 priorities per year. That's been taken away. And then we talk about redressing road surfaces. You ask the people of Hartington Avenue what the state of the road surfaces was like there. It was horrendous. And yet somehow, when funding gets allocated, Hucknall always seems at the back of the queue. Why is that? I don't know, but we pay the same council tax. I'll tell you, because decisions are being made by people who don't drive on these roads every day. Independents fighting for the £70 million of extra highway funding is fantastic, and it's about time that we got it in Hucknall. That's why this amendment is important. It makes sure that every councillor spends 250,000 on real repairs in their area. That means getting the roads fixed where we need the roads fixing, instead of waiting for County Hall to remember Hucknall. Ah, well, we've got Oak House in Hucknall. Let's not pretend that this has magically appeared. It's because we've been fighting for it. Independents have pushed, and now we've won. But no, let's not put this into the back room. Let's not forget we're instead of the many. So, colleagues, I say, if you really care about fairness, and vote for this amendment. If you really actually want to see the roads fixed in Hucknall, vote for the amendment. And in your own areas, vote for the amendment. If you don't, then you better have a good explanation to your residents, because they'll be asking you why they're swerving around the potholes. This is the Ashfield Independents, and the independents here getting things done. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Williamson, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I stand here today not to argue, not to attack, but to appeal for fairness. The roads in Brinsley, Greasley and Watnall have been in decline for far too long, and all our residents are asking for is a fair share of this new investment. We all know the problem areas: Moor Road, Main Street and Broad Lane in Brinsley, roads that have seen patch-up jobs instead of real resurfacing, leaving it rough enough and uneven for drivers and cyclists. Moor Green and Church Road in Greasley, where potholes keep returning, making it dangerous for local traffic and buses. Watnall Road, a key route that has needed real investment for years yet continues to deteriorate. For too long, these areas have been overlooked, and residents have been patient, hopeful and trusting that something would be done. Now, with £70 million in new highways funding, we have an opportunity to finally put that right. This amendment is not about politics, it's about listening to our communities and ensuring that funding reaches every part of Nottinghamshire. The proposal to allocate £16.5 million directly for local councillors gives us the chance to fix the roads that we know need it most. I ask my colleagues today, please let's not allow this funding to be swallowed up by bureaucracy. Let's put it to real use in the places that have been waiting for far too long. Our residents deserve safe roads, well-maintained pavements, and the confidence that their concerns have been heard. So I urge you all, please support this amendment. Let's make sure Brinsley, Greasley and Watnall get their fair share and that every community benefits from this investment. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Martin, please.
Thank you, Chair. Let's be honest, Selston, Jacksdale, Underwood, especially Bagthorpe and Westwood and New Brinsley have been treated like forgotten corners of Nottinghamshire for years when it comes to road repairs. I've lost count of the amount of times that residents have asked me, when are they going to do something about our roads? And my answer has always been, as soon as we can drag some funding out of the County Hall, or Oak House as it now is. Well, here we are. The independents did fight for this funding. There are endless motions been brought by the Ashfield Independents about the inequitable distribution of funding over highways financing. And that's why we ended up with a cross-party working group in the first place. And the inequitable funding is still happening. We're not asking for anything that we're not due for. We're just asking for an equitable distribution of funding. Because it's a fight, and we all know what's going to happen next. This money will vanish into the usual black hole of countrywide projects. When I listen to the party political broadcast by Councillor Camilleri, I'm astounded at the amount of work that's been done in his division. Yeah. Because it's not happened in mine. It's not happened in mine. So no wonder you're getting things done, because you're on the right side of the fence, and that's called inequitable distribution.
Absolutely.
This is why I fully support this amendment, and it gives every single councillor in this room a chunk of money that they can put onto pavements like Smeeth Road, where I had an old lady fall over, on pavements like Lindley Street in Selston, where a blind woman fell over. This is happening daily, and it's got to stop. And this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to redress some of those issues directly for councillors who know their own wards. Alfreton Road in Underwood has been patched up more times than I've had up pies at a Forest game. But it still manages to look like it's been through an earthquake. Nottingham Road in Selston, where potholes seem to regenerate faster than the council can fill them. And Selston Road, which particularly is subject to flooding, which has so many cracks and erosion on the edges, it's basically an obstacle course for cyclists, pedestrians and runners. Westwood and Bagthorpe, well, if you like off-roading, come down Bagthorpe, because it's just like off-roading. In fact, I asked for the highways officers to come and mark out the potholes. He ran out of pen. And let's not forget New Brinsley, where residents have been asking for proper pavement repairs like Broad Lane for years, only to be told that it's on the list. And when we talk to other councillors who are in charge of the funding in this chamber, on the list, there is no funding for pavements, and what there is very minuscule. You will say, Councillor Clark, that there is funding for pavements. I know you will, but it's not enough. It's not enough. We have an ageing population. I was told when I first became a councillor that 25% of my population in 5 years would be greater over 65 than they are now, and they are. And it's just, there are more people walking around, and it's a hostile environment for them. And it's not just the roads, the drainage seems to be an issue too. How many times have we seen flooding on Selston Road or Underwood side streets, like Chapel Road, where the road is dished and residents generally have to come out of their house every single morning through a pond when it rains. But of course, fixing that never seems to be a priority until someone's car is floating past the main road post office and we live at the top of the hill. The reality is simple. If we leave it to County Hall, we'll be waiting another decade before we see these repairs. That's why this amendment is so important. It ensures that each councillor gets equitable distribution of 250,000 to directly invest in their area. That means I can actually say to the residents, here's the money, now let's see what you want fixing.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. Councillor Gowland, please.
Thank you. And just to be clear, I'm talking on the amendment, not the motion. So we can't support this amendment because we know the council has the kit and staff to fix the roads and the expertise to best deploy these in a strategic way. What the council's been missing is the resources, the money. The Labour Mayor has given the council the money for a particular purpose to get the roads fixed where they need to be fixed across the county. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Smith, Helen Ann Smith, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, for years, the people of Skegby, Stanton Hill, Teversall and Sutton have been crying out for better roads. And for years, they've been ignored. We've heard every excuse in the book. We've got no budget, we'll get to it next year, we're prioritising other areas, and yet here we are, still dodging the same potholes, still tripping over the same broken pavements, still fighting for the investment that our communities desperately deserve. Now, at long last, thanks to the relentless campaigning of the Ashfield Independents, we have secured £70 million in highways funding. But we know what happens next if we don't fight for fairness. This money will disappear into a black hole, just like every other time. Let me be absolutely clear. This amendment is about making sure our communities finally get their fair share. 16.5 million of this funding should be placed in the hands of local councillors who know their areas, who will listen to their residents and who will understand exactly where repairs are needed most. This means real investments in places like Beck Lane in Skegby, where drivers have been dealing with crumbling road surfaces and speeding cars for years. Made even worse with the recent developments after this council's highways department backtracked on their objections to a proposal once they realised that they owned a plot of land next door to the application site. Fackley Road in Teversall, where patch jobs have failed time and time again, leaving it in an even worse state than it was before. Flooding at its worst areas on Fackley Road. It brings me on to Norwood Lane in Teversall, Mr. Chairman. It's genuinely possibly the worst road that I've seen in a long time. And that's after some of the potholes have been repaired. I challenge anyone from that side of the chamber to drive up to Norwood Lane, drive down Norwood Lane, and see if you are then saying that you've done everything that this council can do for our residents in Nottinghamshire. Because, Mr. Chairman, There's an elderly resident on there, and I'm sure she wouldn't mind mentioning her name. Her name's Janice. She's a lovely lady, lived on Norwood Lane her entire life, grew up there. She relies on home visits from doctors, nurses and care workers. And she is terrified that they are going to say to her, we can't come and visit you anymore because the state of your road is that bad. She rang me in tears last week because she was so scared after one of her care workers said that I've damaged my wheel last time I came down your road. She's absolutely terrified that they're going to say, we can't come anymore. And none of our residents should ever feel like that. None of our residents should ever have to think that they aren't going to get the care and support that they need because this council has failed to fix her road. Meaden Bank and Stoneford Road, where dangerous potholes have been a nightmare for motorists and cyclists alike. The Quarrydale estate, where the footpaths are horrendous, which is on a main route to the school. How many times have we raised these issues? How many times have residents reported them, only to be told there's no money, no priority, no timeline? We fought for this funding, Mr. Chairman, and now we demand our communities get their fair share. Let's not kid ourselves. Without the independents, this money wouldn't even exist. It wasn't the big parties that pushed for it. It was the politicians who only show up when there's elections. It was us. We have been the ones fighting for our roads, fighting fairness, fighting for our communities. Now, some councillors might be happy to sit back and let the county council decide where this money is spent, but I'm not one of them, because I know exactly what will happen. The same areas will get the lion's share, while Skegby, Stanton Hill, Teversall and Sutton get the scraps. Not this time. Mr. Chairman, our amendment ensures that local councillors and local people, not decision makers, control this funding. It means that when residents report a dangerous pothole, we can actually do something about it, instead of sending them a standard reply about highways assessments and long-term strategies. This is about fairness, democracy, accountability. If you vote against this amendment, you're voting for Skegby, Stanton or Teversall and Sutton to be ignored once again. If you vote against this amendment, you're telling residents that their views on roads and footpaths don't matter. I won't accept that, and neither should you. Back this amendment, fight for fairness, and let's finally give our communities the safe, well-maintained roads that they deserve. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. We have 12 more speakers wishing to speak on this, and this is on the amendment. Bearing in mind what we said about lunch and length of meeting, I'll have one more speaker before lunch, and then we'll reconvene. So, Councillor Sam Smith, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to clear up some absolute nonsense that we've been hearing today. They bang on over that side of the room about helping to secure the money. Have you forgot that 5 of you voted against the East Midlands Combined Authority? Where do you think the new money's coming from? The air around us? It's absolutely not. It's coming from the Combined Authority that 5 of them voted against. All words and no action, Mr. Chairman, whatsoever. The principle, however, of the amendment, Mr. Chairman, is a good one. One, Mr. Chairman, that already exists. Members' priorities already form part of the capital programme, Mr. Chairman. We get in touch with our highways manager and we get it done, Mr. Chairman. It already exists.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Carr, could you sit down? Oh. Okay, sorry. Okay. Brief.
We haven't been asked for priority road allocations for the last 4 years.
Councillor Smith, continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You don't need to be asked. You can ring them up or email them and talk to them, and they will put your members' priorities forward, and it will form part of the scheme, Mr. Chairman. Now, although there is some principle to the amendment, it's important to note...
Councillor Martin, no one can hear you, so let Councillor Smith continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. They're not used to facts, I don't think. It's important to note, Mr. Chairman, that if you use all £16.5 million on this, it would not be effective, would it? It would remove funding from the preventative works that this programme is going to do. It would remove funding from the micro-asphalting that the capital programme is set to deliver. It will remove funding from the patch resurfacing schemes that this programme is set to deliver. Those 2 preventative methods are far cheaper cheaper than full resurfacing. So that means we can do far more of them, which prevents roads getting in the state that they are talking about, Mr. Chairman. And this capital programme that we're voting on today moves towards, Mr. Chairman, a full estate approach. While we're there spending this £72 million that the Conservatives and Labour helped to secure, Mr. Chairman, whilst we're on that estate resurfacing the road, guess what we'll do? We'll do the pavement while we're there, won't we, Councillor Clark? And we'll clear the drains at the same time. That is what this programme delivers, Mr. Chairman. And what about roads, Mr. Chairman, that cross divisions? What about roads? One councillor is responsible for half, another councillor is responsible for the other half. One councillor has money left in their pot. They'll do their half. The other councillor spent it on something else. You drive down one half of the road, really smooth, you can take a plane off. You get to the other side of the half, complete and utter nonsense, isn't it? Because that will deliver inconsistent standards and it would not be fair on the residents of that road. And, Mr. Chairman, let's talk about insurance claims, shall we? Half the estate gets done because one councillor prioritises it, another half doesn't, and then there's an accident on that half. Who's liable for that, Mr. Chairman? Sorry.
Councillor Smith, we have a point of order from Councillor Lee, if you just let me have that.
Watkinall Road. We've repeatedly been to highways to demand the road is certain.
That's not a point of order. Thank you. Councillor Smith.
Don't forget to tell your residents, Councillor Waters, that you voted against this new money when it was created, will you? So who would be responsible for those insurance claims?
Point of order.
No. Carry on, Councillor Smith.
I voted against your ridiculous plans for an East Midlands mayor. This was always our money to start with, and we've got back less than inflation.
Yes, Councillor Waters, that was a personal clarification. Councillor Smith.
Again, Mr. Chairman, I think I might call myself Fact Checker Smith today. The new money is coming from the mayor. You voted against the new money, Councillor Walters. Now, who is going to be responsible for them insurance claims, Mr. Chairman? We don't know because the ill-thought-out amendment doesn't make it clear. And let's just go back to the public, shall we? The public do have a great say and purpose in what is in our capital programme, Mr. Chairman. They can report potholes on the app, they can get in touch with their local councillor, and when we go out and repair a pothole, and if we come out and out again, guess what? All that data is factored into the capital programme and we can get roads done, Mr. Chairman.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. I don't want to educate the leader, fact checker or whatever he calls it. We call you something very similar. The County Council, under 7 Freedom of Information requests, does not keep the data he's just referred to. The County Council does not keep data on referring back to potholes over and over again. In fact, I've got a table member question about it. You are incorrect, Councillor Smith.
Okay, well,
thank you.
Thanks for that point.
I would like to see that freedom of information.
Councillor Smith, you have 30 seconds.
Thank you. I'd like to see that response to the FOI, because I've met with the Highways Department just this week, and I can assure you that the data does play a part in the capital programme. We don't just pick roads out of thin air that your amendment is suggesting. Mr. Chairman, in summary, we will not be supporting the amendment. It is an ill-thought-out political stunt. The motion in front of us today, put forward by this Conservative administration, increases spending on the highway by £72 million, Mr. Chairman. That will be spread out fairly across all areas. We'll repair the worst roads and will prevent other roads getting in a state, Mr. Chairman. We will not be voting for political stunts.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Right, well, as I mentioned, we have 12 more speakers to speak. It is coming up to lunchtime. I propose we adjourn for lunch now. It is 12:35. Let's please be back by 1:35. Thank you.